Hello and welcome to a Let's Play of Europa Barbarorum 2. The famed Rome Total War originally, and now of Medieval 2. And we're going to be going for a Saba campaign. And this is pretty much my first campaign in this mod. I've tried a few others just to get the feel of it, but really I'm coming to this fairly fresh. Although I did play the original Europa Barbarorum. And I just think that Saba will be an interesting campaign. Because it's fairly unusual. It's in a very isolated geographical location. And it'll be interesting to build up a sort of hidden empire on the Arabian Peninsula and then explode out from it, much like the Arab Muslim Caliphate did so many centuries later. So, yeah, I'm going to try this mod out a little bit, and I think this is going to be quite interesting. And of course, with this mod, you're going to learn a lot as well. It's hugely educational. A huge amount of effort has gone into the historical accuracy of this mod. It's difficult to stress that enough. I mean, I know that as a player of the original modification, the people who who made this put a huge amount of effort in. Okay, so this is the beginning of an empire, the first steps on the mountainside. Okay, right. So we have these Kamis, who I'm guessing are, they're more sort of our professional infantry. And then you have these Sabaean citizen militia and Sabaean archers. I want to try and professionalize the army as much as possible early on. That's something I find from Total War games. I want a nice quality, quality over quantity. Is definitely the way I like to go. So let's send this spy to see who our neighbours are. We've got Zafar down here, and they seem to have some decent quality infantry. Oh, they look good. Sabaean noble infantry, right. And I'll send him out to explore, I guess, the region of the Hijaz, Western Arabia, and send a diplomat there also. But first, oh, I should have scouted this town. Oh, never mind. First, I'm going to make a huge concerted effort to take this initial town. I'll professionalize my army later on and get the quality up. But for now, I just need numbers. I need to take this town. So, I've got a young commander who's quite good, reasonably. But I think that this, we can't send a boy to do a man's job here. I think we need a real general here. Pretty good. And so I'm going to take most of my infantry from here and wage pretty much a full assault on this town of Timna, just so that I've got the makings of an empire. I might even hire some mercenaries, Ethiopian archers, cheap to maintain, so I'm taking them. Got some Bedouin archers here. Yep, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that in this campaign I'm going to be using a lot of archers. Let's just check the financials out. Yeah, I'm going to be losing a lot of money, but oh, there's some activity in the Hijaz over there. I'm going to be losing a lot of money, but if I take this town, then I can slim down my army afterwards. So that's the end of the first turn. First of many in building a great empire, hopefully. And yeah, I mean, this I've been aware of this mod for a very long time. I used to play the original Europa Barbarorum, and it was absolutely fantastic, really amazing. I think it's one of the finest mods I've ever seen in my life. And whether this can live up to that, time will tell. But the early signs seem to be quite promising. It seems to be quite well made so far. And I'll point out things that I like or don't so much like as we proceed. But the maplet certainly looks beautiful and very detailed. Oh, we're getting some activity over there. They seem to be advancing upon us. But I'm still going to, it's better to commit to a bad plan than not to have a plan at all. So I'm going to just make sure. Yeah, these look quite good actually. Bedouin cavalry. Obviously some descriptions are missing because that needs to be worked out. The mod is not complete yet. And right, Timna or bust, I'm afraid. And we'll send the spy just over here just to see what's going on, and maybe have a look at some of the more developed regions to the north. Obviously I can't build anything because my finances are terrible, but if I take Timna, then I think I will be able to reconsolidate my finances and have a smaller but more professional army, which is my ultimate goal. I want a small but high quality force that can conquer Arabia and then explode out of the peninsula eventually. That's the plan. So we'll see if they attack us or just decide to hold out. Oh, that's fine. He can join the party. 3 turns. Oh dear. I'm shipping a lot. I'm going to be losing a lot of money here while I try to hold out. Okay, we're exploring a bit of Western Arabia. Now I have to say I don't know much about the history of the Arabian Peninsula in the ancient world, and I'm certainly willing to be educated about it. Most of it is desert and inhabited by the desert nomads, the Bedouin. But there are regions of relative economic development, especially in the south, which is where I'm playing. The Kingdom of Saba was, I think, a relatively developed and powerful state on the coast. It's the home of the famous Queen of Sheba, who there's a lot of dispute over whether the Queen of Sheba was from Ethiopia or Saba, but I think modern historians tend to agree that she came from Saba, ancient Saba, which is what I'm playing as, obviously. The Ethiopians are very sore on that point. Their Book of Kings talks about the Queen of Sheba and her affair with King Solomon of the Bible, and I think relocation to there's Nabateans to Ethiopia. But I think that modern historians generally agree that biblical Sheba was ancient Saba. I believe that the historian Michael Wood did a program talking about the Queen of Sheba, who features in, of course, the Hebrew Bible, the Quran, and the Ethiopian Book of Kings. Sometimes as a consort to the allegedly wise and great and wealthy King Solomon. He was known for his wives, his wealth, and his women. His wisdom, his wealth, and his women. That's it. Yeah, so they can hold out for one more turn, and then finally we'll get some action. We'll get to get building this empire. And not much going on around here. End turn. So yeah, I'm basically going to be trying to do what the Arab Muslims did so many centuries afterwards, just from a slightly different geographical region. I know that by the time of Muhammad's life, the Kingdom of Saba was long over, as were its successors, and that southern Arabia was essentially it wasn't what it had been in the ancient world, and power began to shift to Western Arabia, to trading cities like Mecca. But we'll see what we can do. It looks like they'll put a lot of detail into it anyway, into recreating this region. And of course I love these loading screens. Right, I'm going to be very archer focused right here, and I'm going to drop the thing. I think a lot of my armies are going to be very archer focused, because I think it's a strength of the Arabs. I think in terms of our strengths are cavalry and archery, I would say, mostly. Oh, the ability to fight on foot as archer, yeah, but really just kind of archers, really. But let's put some fire on them. Get my Ethiopian mercenaries working for me. That's good. I like this style of play. Archery focused. very harassing focused. And we're putting some decent fire on them, I think. One problem with the medieval engine that I find is a little bit difficult to get the camera down quickly. You have to... It takes a little while. But we are putting some good fire on them. And they are certainly taking casualties, and they're trying to come up and engage in this duel, archery duel. And yeah, we're putting, I think we're putting a hurting on them, because they're having to come out of the city. They're quite disorganised, although we are taking casualties. They are certainly taking some also. They're getting shot to pieces there. Look at that. Good crossfire. They're wavering. And got some line infantry if things get to up close and personal. In fact, if they do get up close and personal, we don't have much for that. But I don't think they do either. I think this is it's very archery focused. I think it's going to be a very archery focused campaign, which is fine. It may not be as great to watch as some others. That's one concern, but you know, I like that side of things in Total War games, being able to put a hurting on my opponent from range. And certainly these skirmers here are going to take a fearsome crossfire. And yeah, they've got some decent quality infantry. You know, that armour's going to help them, but I think it's lamella armour there. I think a few coats of scale mail maybe, but they're not going to hold out too well against that sort of firepower. Of course, you don't fire a bow, you shoot a bow. That's something to be particular about. Yeah, they're not quite engaging in melee. They're coming close. I might as well just charge them, honestly. Come on then. Just some levy spearmen here, there to mix things up. Yeah, they're definitely taking casualties, severe casualties. I wonder whether I tended to think in Europa Barbarorum 1 that archery was a little bit underpowered. You know, and I'm fully I say that fully knowing that, you know, you have some great historical experts in the team and that sort of thing. But I always felt it was a little bit useless, honestly. Slingers were okay; they could inflict casualties from range, but archers, you know, seem to be sort of dead weight. I think here they may be a little bit more powerful, is my impression. Certainly against unarmored foes, against armored foes, they shouldn't be too, you know, they shouldn't be all that powerful. I think the Sabaeans were quite renowned as archers. I think reasonably. I'm willing to be corrected on that. But yes, we are inflicting pretty good casualties on them. These infantry of theirs are really doing well, holding their own against the archery fire and these light spearmen, despite being in small number. You know, they're certainly capable warriors, it would seem. I think they're the Sabaean elite, noble infantry. But we're starting to lose our arrows at this point, so I think it's time for a charge. I think we can break them. I think we can break them here. As I say, in broad outline, it's fairly similar to other, to much later warfare when the musketry was finished. You know, it was time for a charge. I think it's the same as more or less here. Sometimes you've just got to charge. And this will mostly be with light troops, but I think we've whittled them down enough to just to break them, hopefully. It'll be embarrassing if we can't, but they do have a lot of these camis over there. That's a concern. They do have some quality foot over there. That's something of a concern. I've realised that these guys are indeed hard to break, very hard to break. But if I encircled them, I mean, surely these guys got to break. I think that one thing I've noticed in this mod is that morale seems to be higher generally. A lot of units would have routed in Europa Barbarorum 1, I believe. God, that's hard to pronounce. But yeah, I think we've got their general Yaggle, so that's going to help. And I think I'm going to push this back into the city. You know, no mercy. Let's just rush them. There are debates about how sophisticated pre-modern Arabian warfare was. I think the Battle of Badr under Muhammad was once described as little more than a brawl. You know, it was very, and often it was quite ritualized. You would have, you know, famous warriors from each side dueling before the main contest and that sort of thing. So. But I'm certainly want to learn more about pre-Islamic Arabia, known as the time of ignorance in the Muslim tradition. Yeah, I was just struggling to break some of these. There definitely is a higher morale in play here than in the previous mod for Rome Total War. You can see that in the way that some units are very stubborn before they rout. But there seems to be a fairly general route on now, so let's just continue that. Take it all the way back. And I'm going to speed things up a little bit. Let's just get this resolved and get this empire underway. We have taken quite a few casualties actually. I guess I haven't used the best tactics, but hopefully I can retrain some of these units. And I don't coddle my warriors, I expect them to fight. Okay, slowing down a little bit. Okay, let's just... It's going to take a while to grind through this town, I think. I'll speed things up a little bit. Yeah, so ancient Arabia was quite a blessed land and was renowned to be by Roman historians. It was described as Arabia Felix, Arabia the Lucky. I think partially because of its good geographical location that was relatively hard to conquer, but also because it sat between Egypt and India, and therefore had access to the wealth of India. It could be involved in for example, the incense trade between India and Egypt, and could profit greatly from that. And I think that was part of the key of the Kingdom of Saba's success. And of course, Rome wanted itself to control the incense and spice trade, and so they, under Augustus Caesar, tried to conquer the Kingdom of Saba, I believe. Certainly conquer, western and southern Arabia, but seem to have failed. I mean, Augustus's official biography, the Res Gestae, suggests that they accomplished it, but I think that was more boasting than anything else. There's very little evidence of a Roman conquest of southern Arabia. The terrain was extremely difficult, and the logistics would have been extremely difficult. And so southern Arabia was known as a very fortunate and prosperous area, difficult to conquer, and on fortunate trade routes. So let's go in and just see what's going here. We are kind of grinding through this, honestly, but hopefully my men can prevail. And I should be making more of an effort to get around them. I'm pontificating too much. Okay, that's a bit better. And still, they've still got some arrows left, but I don't think that matters now. I think it's just a case of getting through them. In retrospect, I probably should have just taken the town by force, initially, rather than trying to starve them out if I'm going to do it this way. So that's a bit of a mistake, actually, a lot of a mistake. But that's the part of the path of empire building is you have to make some mistakes. I think we've got one fairly early on here, but once I've taken this town, then my plans can really begin. Yeah, so we are certainly inflicting casualties upon them and whittling them down. I really want my better infantry more involved in this fight. I'm trying to get these guys over. Yes, well, I've got a timer at least. That means we're making decent progress. But this is certainly what would be considered a brawl. It may, in fact, look like the Battle of Badr. What the famous Battle of Badr, commanded by Muhammad, would have looked like. Possibly. I mean, who knows? But certainly the conquest of Arabia Felix will be my first task, and then hopefully we can explode out into the Near East and recreate in the ancient world what happened so much later with the Arab Muslims. Okay. Well, that was a bit of a grind, I'm not going to lie. Not the most judicious use of force you'll ever see, but it is the Sabaean flag that will fly from the tower of that city today, supposing we have flags. And yes, you see this beautiful detail of these very beautiful coins. The ancient world did have some stunning coins. There's certainly no denying that. Put a lot of our coins today to shame, really. So we'll sack the settlement and we'll complete out this turn. I think that'll be it for part 1. And yes, Arabia is rising. Thanks for watching.